me. Sorry, just.
Good evening, folks. It's Monday and it's Airfix and Chill. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Just want to say thank you to everyone who came to visit me on the ISCA Scale Model Club stand at Avon yesterday. I had some really good conversations. I also want to just point out the chap who asked me questions about the Stolly after the competition. I hope I didn't come across rude. When I kind of defended Airfix and their Spitfire release. I know you were very disappointed in it, but I do stand by the fact that I think you know it was a big release for them because they have added to their kits something that I think 90% of all Airfix regularly ask for. Not so much 3D resin, but more of the masking set. So they've now put in that kit, and I'm pretty damn sure that in the future you're going to be seeing a lot more of that happening. So for them, it was a big thing. And if it was a disappointment, then fair enough. But if I came across a bit rude, I wasn't trying to be rude. I was just, you were very, very upset. So I do understand your thoughts on advertising, but I still stand that I think this 124 Spitfire is a great release. And anyways, right. So, thanks. Jim's arrived with us tonight. We've got John Alec, we've got Brett, we've got John Parker somewhere in the mix. We've got Luke back.
Yeah, John Parker's just finishing his dinner, apparently.
He's finishing his dinner, that's right then. And then we've got Luke and also Ben. Nice to see you, Ben. We were going around the show yesterday, and I didn't realise that people had an interest with the one. Where's the box? The box is somewhere. Oh, there it is. This kit here by Vespid Models. I got asked quite a few questions about it, and somebody said, "Do you mind if you built it?" And I said, "Yeah." And it's the Jagged Panther from Vespid Models 1/72 scale. And Nigel originally did the unboxing for this, and the joke was it was full of photo etch, and he laughed about it. Well, I did use some of the photo etch where I think it was needed. And I was explaining to the chap that basically this kit is a 1/35 scale kit, completely and utterly reduced to a 1/72 scale, including the photo etch, which made the photo etch extremely hard to work with to put on the side rails that are here. And he was saying that he said that was a common fault with 1/72 scale kits that have been tooled now, is that they're trying to put in 1/35 detail into a kit that you would never even, it'd be impossible to do it justice in 1/72. And then we got into the conversation is that you don't see many kits being released Armour wise in 1/72 scale, and that he had now moved on to 1/56 scale from Rubicon, and there was another company you mentioned. I can't place who it is now. There's another company that's 1/56, but he said that if you want to really build a smaller version of an Armour vehicle, you would use the Tamiya 148, like the range that they've got. So the question is, does anyone here still build 1/72 scale Armour, and if so, why? Go on then, John. Do you still build 1/72 scale Armour?
Most of the time, that's all I build, 72nd scale Armour. I do a couple of 35th, but most of it is 72nd, and it's just because of space.
Just because of space?
Yeah.
Is that new tools, or is it like old tools that have been reboxed?
Some have been new tools, but most are old tools. I get a lot of nostalgia out of old Airfix, old Revell, old Matchbox.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. So you're 1 out of 9 of us. I don't particularly. This is the first 72nd scale I've built since I built the starter set Sherman and Tiger, and they're simplified kits anyway. But once you build them, I think they'll give Matchbox a run for their money. The only thing's missing is a diorama, which is what's popular about those Matchbox ones. But John, do you build 172nd, or are you just a 135th kind of guy?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have never built a 172nd Armour kit. They're not readily available here. Two, there's really very little market for them here. And the other thing, I can't deal with them. I've got sausage fingers and my hands shake, and I just can't do 72nd scale Armour. It's just too small for me. So I admire John for his ability to work in that scale. It was a little bit of a challenge for me. I did 2 148 scale, the Tamiya 148 scale Armour stuff. That was a challenge.
Was that the Matilda you built?
No, that was one was one of those one was a reconnaissance vehicle, and the other was the Sturm Tiger.
That's right.
48th. I got them for Christmas from my daughters a couple years ago. Yeah.
I remember you talking about that Sturm Tiger because you said it was an alright little build for what it was.
Yes, it was. It was good. The Tamiya 148 stuff is great because especially it goes with you can put it with planes. Right? Yeah.
And I think that's what's one of the calls, isn't it? I think that's why Tamiya did it, because you see now that they do release the odd 148 scale plane or something, and they put a 148 vehicle that's in that range, like a Dingo or something like that. I've seen that before. So, yeah. Luke, what about you, mate? 172nd, 135th? Oh, no, you're 156. You like your Rubicon models, don't you?
I build all scales, really. I've not built many 72nd scale Armour kits, and the reason for that, it's not, what would you call it, scale prejudice as such. Is firstly that the subject matter in that scale is quite often lacking. The last 72nd scale kit I built was that Bushmaster that I used the outlaw paints on with the Ozcam.
Oh yeah.
And that's a lovely kit. There's loads of photo etch in it, and it's a modern, cool kit, lots of detail. I think so. The 156 stuff is the reason it's 156 scale is actually because a 156 scale human figure is 28 millimeters, which is the common wargaming scale. It's not the only wargaming scale. There's people wargaming with figures that are 5 mil. You know what I mean? But that's 56, 28 mil is the common wargaming scale. Now, at that scale, on a piece of armor, you can pretty much achieve everything that you can achieve on 48th and 35th with a little bit of practice. You can do that. When you move down to 72nd scale, a lot of the common techniques in relation to weathering, chipping, and all that stuff becomes a lot more challenging because of the size. That's not to say that it can't be done, because there are a lot of people out there that do some fantastic work at 72nd scale with armor, but it can be a little bit more challenging. It takes a lot more practice, and you have to be a lot more subtle with the effects, because if you're going to chip a piece of 35th scale armor, I wouldn't say it's more forgiving, because it's more noticeable. Whatever you do to that is more noticeable. However, at 72nd scale, it's got to be a lot more subtle. Otherwise, it looks overdone. So consequently, a lot of people don't do that with 72nd scale armor. And then it can look very toy-like.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. And that's why a lot of modelers, I think, would steer away from 70 seconds, 76, because the danger is if you don't employ the right techniques when you're building that model in the finishing, the weathering, and everything else, it can look very, very toy-like.
Yeah.
And that's why people tend to step away from it. If there's enough, what's the word? I don't want to use the word skill, because that is very it sort of, it pisses people off, doesn't it, if you say people have got enough skill. But with enough practice, there's nothing that can't be achieved at a smaller scale. It's just in techniques. And it probably will take you a lot longer because of the size. But I can't think of any technique that you would employ on a 35th scale piece of armor that you couldn't employ on a 72nd scale piece of armor, providing that you adjust the technique accordingly.
That's a fair shout. I'm just looking on ScaleMates, and allegedly in the last 5 years, there's been 511 new tools of just tanks. If I looked up tanks in 1/72nd scale, that's one coming up. But it seems to be there's a lot of 3D printed tanks in that mix. If I'm just going to go through and look at like the Airfix guys, looking at the box, like Revell have done 2, Airfix have done 2, Italeri have done 1, Trumpeter have done 4, Zvezda have done 5. You're just going down through. Hobby Boss, Tacom have done 3, IBG have done 8 new tools, and they've done like the Cromwell, the Centaur, the M11 39 Italian tank. Just going down through, you wouldn't find Tamiya in the mix because they don't do. Attack Hobbies have released a new one. Just going down through quickly, trying to get rid of the ones. It's so difficult because there's just so many here with resin and stuff. But it just seems to be a die-in thing. Vespid Models have done 8. It looks like. So at the moment we've got 35 in the last 5 years. I just think, Board have done a couple of ways. Board have done 2. Just going down through the list here.
If you look at
that sort of scale.
No, I don't think it's dying, but I think the focus of the subject is changing. Yeah. So, for example, if you look at something like an ICBM launch vehicle, for example, those things are massive.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to build that in 35th scale, that's going to be a good 16, 18 inches long.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite big. So therefore, if you're building it in 72nd scale and some artillery pieces and that sort of thing, if you're building it at 72nd scale, it allows people, as John said, to have more real estate on their shelf, because not everyone is lucky enough. I'm very lucky. I've got loads of space, but not everyone is lucky enough to have the storage space, the display space, to be able to display, for, I don't know, a Soviet Panzer in 35th scale. Well, not everyone's got the space to display that, but they would have the space in 72nd.
Yeah.
So they build it in 72nd. I think what happens is with a lot of die-hard armor modelers, if you like, they will steer away from 72nd scale because the level of detail that they can create at that scale is very, very... It's not that it can't be done, as I said earlier. It can be done. But, I mean, people, years ago, it was popular to build ships in bottles and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
So it can be done, but it just takes a lot more... I'll just say, it takes a lot more effort and a lot more skill.
Okay.
To get it right, it does.
There's something else as well, Luke. It's that if you're interested in building a diorama, which involves a lot of different vehicles, it's a lot easier in 72nd or 76 than what it is in 48. You know,
but would it though, John?
the D-Day diorama that I built for 101st Airborne getting on the aircraft is built in 70-second scale with multiple vehicles and 30 odd figures. And it has, well, for me, it had to be at that scale, because if I'd have built that in 35th, it would be massive. It would be like 3 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah, but Luke, what about in 156 scale?
Even then, it would be too big.
Would it really? Because when you look at the difference, I don't think there's a lot of difference in a 56. There's a big difference in 72nd and 48, but
yeah, there's a very noticeable difference.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it up.
If you compared, say, 56 Cromwell, for example, we're talking about Cromwell. That's going to be about 6 inches long. How big is a 72nd scale one?
4.
So there's a 2-inch difference. That's 1/3.
Yeah. It's roughly 1/3 the difference in scale,
Yeah, which is very, very noticeable.
It's actually more noticeable than it is from 48 to 56.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just looking at 135th, just these are back of a fag packet math on this one, all right?
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, 75. Just quickly going through 75 new toolings of 135th. What are they like over? How do you get on with selling 172nd or 135th, Brett, in your shop? Do you find it? Do you find that people tend to want the 135th more than the 172nd or 148 even?
148th is huge right now. 135th, of course, has always been huge.
Yeah.
172nd isn't as popular, but they are. I got a list here of what's available to order in 72nd Armour in the last 6 to 9 months. There's an ICM ZIL 131, 2 different border model strikers, model Tiger 1, a Meng Merkava, a Mini Arc Stuk 3 late, a Trumpeter LAV 150, an Academy Panzer 4, a Mini Arc Stuk 42 G, Mini Art Stuk 3 late, a Trumpeter Striker, a Trumpeter SDK FC8, a Meng Bradley with Busk, a Mini Art Stuk 3 February 1943, and that's just within the last 6 to 9 months it's come out.
Yeah.
So they're still being made.
Yeah.
They're just not very popular.
I mean, I've just ordered, I forget the manufacturer, but anyway, it's a Finnish Leopard tank in 72nd scale. Now that's going to be 4.5 inches long, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But to avoid it being toy-like is the challenge, and probably the easiest way of doing that is to construct a small display base, probably 4 inches square by 2 inches high, with it going over some terrain. And all of a sudden, you're not increasing the real estate for your shelf because the base is the tank.
Yeah.
However, all of a sudden, if it's done to an okay standard, it doesn't look toy-like anymore. But it's a challenge. It's got photo etch in there and everything. So if you're not very confident with photo etch, for example, to create the level of detail that perhaps 35th scale or 48 scale Armour modelers are looking for, you might struggle at 72nd scale. As John Alex said, you know, we're all getting older, our eyesight's getting worse, our fingers are getting fatter, you know, and all this stuff, our dexterity is not what it was 20 years ago. And all these things have an impact, which is why people may still be drawn to the larger scale. But I'll make a declaration here and now. I will video build that leopard.
Good.
Well,
You also have to remember that if you envisage what is normally covered by PE, can you imagine what it's like building one in PE in 70?
Absolutely. It's a challenge, and it was on that Bushmaster because there were things like P tool clamps, and at 70 seconds, it's a challenge at 35th scale sometimes.
Yeah.
It's certainly a challenge at 70 seconds.
I mean, it's a challenge just to see it, to work with it.
Yeah.
Well, that was my argument with his Vespid. You know, they could have easily molded on the little lugs to go down the side for that rail I had to put on, but they wanted me to get this little tiny piece of photo etch, and it was about 2 mil square, and you had to fold it 4 different times. And I was like, I in the end, I thought, fuck it, I'll just glue it on, and that's what I did. And when the guy looked at it, and he goes, yeah, but if you that little rail there underneath, just that little rail, he said to me, he goes, there's no point in even attempting to do the photo etch. It wasn't going to enhance.
It's probably easier. It's probably easier to make a branded sprue.
You look at the shipbuilders, and the stuff they do with PE at a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
You know, they're working at 1/350th, 1/700th. There was a guy there yesterday who was selling Royal Navy and Royal Fleet Auxiliary ship kits, and they were multimedia kits, so they were white metal, photo etch, resin, styrene, complete kits, and they looked awesome. I think they're about 1/700th scale, I believe. I could be wrong, and they weren't cheap.
MT miniatures, I would think.
Yeah,
that's him. Yeah, that's him. And they weren't cheap, but he had some finished, painted, finished examples. They're all waterline kits.
Yeah,
and he has some examples on his stand, and they were fantastic. But some of the photo etch for that must be absolutely minute. There's no way most people that the human eye, unaided, could deal with photo etch or white metal at that level, and that's where your optimizer, your magnifier, and everything comes in.
But can I just ask something? This is one question before I go back to Brett, because Brett was going to make a comment. Was get a piece of wood, then get a Wilkinson razor blade.
Yeah.
Right. Get some super glue, lay that on the wood, and then put that razor blade up straight, and then tell me and then just leave it there. And within 2 weeks, that blade is going to stay upright. My argument with the photo etch is that it's 2D. The edge that you're doing an edge like this, bump with the super glue. I just can't see it happening. You're playing. It's like building building a tower out of a set of playing cards. If you've got an item dead flat and you super glue it in, I don't see. There was one kit I built about 5 years ago, and it was actually I can't remember which one it was. It was some kit I was doing, but they had because they had photo etch parts in it. They had actually put little recesses in the plastic, so when you could put the super glue in the plastic, the photo etch would go in just a little bit to give it a grip. So you would have 3 sides. You got the point and the 3 sides. I can't remember which kit was it. I think it was a boat or something or other. But they had the cutouts already there. So you pushed the 3D part, the photo etch part in, but then you were gluing 3 sides. Where all you're really gluing is a fucking edge on photo etch, and that's what gets me. And the amount of times I've built a kit with these little, with the photo etch on, and I've put the model down and they've fallen off. Super glue is not a good medium to go sticking metal to plastic either. Really, what you need is araldite. To be honest, that's the best.
Epoxy.
I think that's a technique issue.
I don't know.
One that the shipbuilders could probably.
Hold that, Jim. Up again.
That's the stuff. Hold it up again. Yeah,
White glue. White glue.
Oh.
PVA is your friend.
Yeah.
Tester's dull coat. I learned that trick back in the 90s from a prolific ship modeler over here.
So not using super glue, using white glue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was going to show you guys pictures of my wasp I did a couple years ago, and a lot of that photo etch is done.
The super glue is not pliable at all. It's too brittle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brittle.
Yeah. It pings off.
Here's another trick. If you're tacking it on, and to your point, it's brittle, right? You nick it, bing, it's gone, right?
Yeah, it's gone.
You can tack it on with the super glue, but then you come in with your white glue over it, and then you take a paintbrush with water to dull it down. It seeps in, dries clear. You're done.
I never thought of that. Well done. Well, I'm going to give you 5 out of 5 for that tip, because I never thought of doing that. And then again,
The canopy glue will dry clear.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Ben, you're not really you're a boat builder, so I presume in the same sort of vein, you've got your 350th scale, your 700, or your 200, your 350, 700, 1100. Are you finding that the 1100 or the 700 is being pushed aside for more 350 when it comes to releases, or 200?
I would say that the two strongest scales are probably actually 350th and 700th overall. 700th still has a big following because of the size and the diversity of what you can buy in that scale. So that's very strong. The old 1200 scale, that's more or less dead. I don't see any 1200 scale stuff that shows particularly, and they're normally sort of old badge stuff that's, you know, sold here and there or reboxed. The one that's surprising, which is sort of becoming a bit like the 156th of the ship world, is actually 1600, the so-called Airfix scale.
Yeah.
That's making a bit of a comeback because of, obviously, with the world of 3D printing now, especially. So injection kits, there are none that have been bought out that are in that scale. But however, there's a lot of 3D printed ones that are coming out as an option as 1600 to go with the classic Airfix models. So that can include like Art Royal. I think there's a Hermes in that scale. And so there's that sort of coming back as the 700th is a bit dinky. If you want slightly bigger, go for the 600th, because everyone remembers how big their Airfix ones were, and everyone goes, oh, they're a nice size model. So for ships, I would say that's our 156, but we're not quite to the extent of where there's a drought of 70-second kits not being produced like 700th. There still is. I mean, again, a bit like us for ships, I think 70-second now will predominantly go 3D printed. Because of the market size, and what 3D printing allows you to cater for is a smaller market, but you get more accurate models than, say, a white metal cast or a traditional, wax cast filled with resin, a bit like Atlantic Models still does for ships. So I think with ships, we have got a little bit of the 72nd in mind with the 700th, but it's not in a weak position, I would say, compared to the 72nd when it's in Armour, where your predominant mainstream releases are 35th, 148, and 156.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing. I think I just seeing less of the 172nd now, but I'm seeing more of the 35th, and the pricing is going down on the 135th, and I just feel that if you can, for instance, this, and if there's anybody at ISCA is going to laugh at this when I say this, but I've got it here somewhere. I've got I got a kit from it was a Jag Panzer, I think it was. I've done with it. I've got it here somewhere, but I bought a Jag Panzer off that one there. There it is. This one here, right? This was in Jadlam. They said, you want to have a look at this, Moz, because these are apparently brilliant Mojo builds. This is Das Work. It's a Takum kit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? 135th. It comes with a little bit of photo etch for your vents and everything. Metal barrel. And comes with copper tow ropes. Okay. £25. 25 quid.
That's for.
I know it's a retool, but this is a Takum, because it says here Super Blitz by Takum. So that's why with Takum plastic.
I'm getting one of those.
25 quid, right? It was tooled this year by Takum. And then Takum said, and then for some reason, Das Work, whether Das Work is Takum, I'm not too sure.
They're
a German company, aren't they, Das Work?
No. There's sister companies, Das Work and Takum.
This one here, 27, exactly the same. It's got photo etch in it. It's got the, and do you know, when I looked at the kit, I was like, the only gripe I've got is the fact they tried to be clever with the instructions. So if you see what I'm seeing here, they tried to make it look like it's dirty. That's the problem. So
Yeah.
it's not as bold as it could be. That's the problem I've got. But the instructions are very, very good in here. But like I said, you get a metal barrel, you get, you got a little bit of photo etch, decal sheet, 25 quid. So if you wanted to buy this for 16 or 17.99, this Vespid one, or would you go bigger and get this one here, which is 25 quid?
But I think this sort of goes back to the heart of it, Mozor. What is it actually? What is the customer wanting? Because I think a lot of people know that 1/35th, the value for money factor now is very high. It's very good.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to do collections or dioramas, because I think that's where 72nd will always have that. If you're doing a large scale diorama, or for example, you want to do diorama with aircraft of a certain size, your default will always generally be 72nd. A bit like Luke's diorama. I presume you did a Dakota with it, did you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, so you got a Dakota, it'd be 72nd. A 48th Dakota would be too big, unless you've got a rather large area of the table. So I think 72nd will still keep its strength there. And for example, you see a lot of, you're not seeing World War II stuff now per se in 72nd, but you are seeing, again, it goes back to the 3D printing, modern armoured vehicles, modern fighting vehicles. You're seeing a lot of stuff to do with Air Force support, or, for example, Navy support on carriers when people are doing dioramas.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the strength will be. I don't think it's dying. I think that would be an unfair term for it. I would say it's evolving into something different.
Okay.
I think the whole 3D printed thing enables the modeler to build good dioramas in 70-second scale. Because if nothing else, the figures. So traditionally, 70-second scale figures were almost monopose, very difficult to make them look natural in a diorama setting. But now with the advent of 3D printing, and you look at a couple of builds I did, well, one this year, one last year, so that 101st Airborne diorama, every single figure on that diorama is 3D printed. You can't get those unless they're 3D printed. So the figures look like they're boarding the aircraft. They're wearing the correct 101st Airborne equipment, etc., etc., etc. The lifeboat that I did, the crew is 3D printed. You can't get a 70-second scale lifeboat crew in the correct poses, wearing the correct equipment. But 3D printing has made that possible. So therefore, people can construct dioramas or vignettes in 70-second scale, which solves the real estate problem. And it can still look quite good because now you're enabled to get the figures, you can change the poses, you can do whatever you want to make them look natural. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, you couldn't do that.
Okay. That's, as I said, yeah, I'm just I see that point, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of manufacturers out there that I'm talking mainstream ones. Tammy have never invested in 1/72nd scale, which is fair enough when it comes to armor.
Not in armor,
but then to me, they would be perfect if they did because they got the 1/72nd scale planes. But no, they opted to go 148 because of what they've already got in 148. Fair enough. Airfix have released two 1/72nd scale tanks, which was the Tiger 1 and the Sherman. They did 1/35th tank, which was the Cromwell. Okay, that's in the last 5 years. I can't see much Revell 1/72nd, but they're very much, they've got a 148 range of tanks.
I think you've got to compare eggs with eggs. So if you're looking at the Airfix releases in 70-second scale, they release those starter sets.
Yeah,
they're very lacking in detail. If you're looking at
because there's two types.
Well, regardless, they're lacking in detail because there's no photo etch.
All right, fair enough. Okay, Because what I was going to say was that they do bring out the starter set version of the Tiger 1, or they do what they call their classic kit, which comes with Lincoln length tracks. You've got separate wheels. You've got extra bits to go on the body itself.
But for an Armour modeler who's looking for a certain level of detail,
what, 1/72?
Yeah. Okay. Those kits do not have it.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Whereas the less mainstream manufacturers that are still producing 70-second kits with photo etch metal barrels, independent link tracks, you know, and whatever it may be that you would associate perhaps with a larger scale. There are manufacturers out there that are doing that, but it's becoming more and more niche. It's becoming more and more specialized, and you will pay a lot more than 25 quid for one of those kits.
Yeah,
you just will. But there are people out there that's their scale of choice, and they're willing to spend the money because of what they're going to get.
Yeah, I understand.
Which will ultimately impact on the final finish.
Yeah,
but I think you hit the nail on the head there, Luke. It's changing and it's becoming more specialized. The actual general builder now has moved across to 135th and 148th purely because the model is bigger and you can have they're a good size. If you want slightly more space, you now go for 48th. But again, 35th, you've got nice display features. 72nd is now moving away from the pocket money tradition of you go down your local post office or Smith's and you get your poly bag of 72nd because that's all they could do back then. Whereas now it's moving to the guys and girls who are wanting very specific things for dioramas, generally speaking. And mainstream can't keep up with those demands because there's no way mainstream manufacturers are going to spend the money on the tooling to do, like Luke's paratroopers, accurate. You know, when you can do it 3D printing, you just can't compete. It's just an element of the market you've got no control over. So that's why I think you're seeing the drop-off from mainstream injection molding manufacturers, and it's now going the way of 3D printing. And it's the same in the ship world. There is a resurgence in 1350 plastic injection kits coming back, especially modern Cold War destroyers and British American subjects. But that's only been brought about because 3D printing came about and people started doing these ships. And the fact that they sold well the 3D printed ones, the larger companies got, hang on a minute, we could improve on that, and there's actually a big enough market. Whereas for the 72nd, it just can't do that. So that's where you see the drop-off in classic sort of injection kits in that scale, I think.
You see, you've just raised the big point because I remember when it was the Spitfire 124th, they didn't put a pilot in it, did they? In that Spitfire.
Yeah.
And I said then, because I think Airfix were arguing the toss, saying that when you go to a model show, you didn't see a pilot in the seats because people wanted to see inside the cockpit. And I said back then, maybe they've jumped the gun a little bit too quick because in theory, 3D printing is the answer. If you want a decent pilot, if you look at the flankers that Kim has built, he bought aftermarket pilots that fit perfectly in those flankers. So maybe Airfix jumped the gun a little too quickly by taking out the pilots. And the other question, when it comes to this one here with the Tamiya, I've got their new M36. I've done a video on it, the M36 tank destroyer. This only comes with one figure, right? Now, before, if you bought a Tamiya kit, you'll get 2 or 3. You'd have the commander, you'll have a few figures with it. Maybe they're thinking now that if you want more figures, you'll just buy 3D printed ones instead, which are going to be more representative of what you want them to do. You could even have having a shit on the side of a tank if you wanted to.
To
be honest,
there is a company out there now where you go onto their website and you would pick, for example, World War II US tank crew.
Yeah,
and they will give you a CGI or CAD standard US Army tanker from World War II in standard uniform. However, then you can manipulate the pose of that vehicle with a mouse. Anyone can do it. I know nothing about CAD. You can manipulate the figure to the pose you want. You can change the equipment. You can change the uniform. You can change the face. There's many options that you can choose. Then it will give you an option to select scale.
Yeah.
From 1/72 all the way up to 1/16.
Yeah.
You select the scale, press order, add it to your cart, pay whatever it is they say for that figure, and then they will 3D print that figure and send it to you.
What website is this?
I'll send you a link, Jim.
I was going to say, keep it quietly, because if we all go and order it now, they'll be buggered and we won't get them to And that was the other thing, is that I was talking to 3D printers and people who build 3D. And the one thing that they haven't quite mastered is time, isn't it? It just takes, you've got to basically, these companies have I think they call them farms. They have 3D resin farms, print resin farms, and they've got them all stacked up on racks, and they set it going 1, 2, 3. Oh, we need to, and unfortunately, they said that you can, it's not a good. You can squeeze them up, he said, but you should really give them spaces, but you can get up to about 20 figures on a plate. You get 40, but he said that gets too silly. Then you have more. It's more about the less of it failing. So you optimize.
Well, I was going to say, the failure rate on 3D printing is quite high.
The resin can move around. If it's too tight, you don't get. I'm not an expert,
but what I'm trying to get is that they probably wait for like 5 or 6 of those people to come along or they want this pose and whatever, and build them and go. But like I said, going back, I'm just seeing this pattern. I know we're moving on from 70 seconds ago. This is good. But like I said, the one complaint was on this kit was, it's only got one figure. And you look at the comments, only one figure, Tammy, only one figure. But then we're coming to a point now, maybe, I think a lot of model kit companies, including those who build 1/72, are relying on the 3D market to fill that void. You're giving them the chance of
which to be fair, is nothing new, really, because for years and years and years before the advent of commercially available 3D printed. The advent of 3D printing is fairly new in this hobby. But for years and years and years, manufacturers have relied on the aftermarket manufacturers to increase the level of detail that you can add to any kit. So actually, if manufacturers are knowing, well, we're only going to put one figure in the box because we know that most people are going to go down the 3D printed route. That's not actually that different to 15 years ago, where people would go, well, I'm going to put an Aries cockpit in my aircraft, or I'm going to use Edward photo etch or a big Ed set or whatever to enhance the level of detail in whatever it may be. It's not really any different. It's just the technology and the medium has changed or is changing. But at the moment, it's not particularly commercially viable because of all the reasons you said: time, failure rate, the cost. It's very expensive to do it en masse at the moment, but that will change. That will change.
Yeah, I get that. But I was just putting it out there, that maybe, as an Airfix said, we're not going to put pilots in our planes anymore. But maybe they were a little bit before their time. That's what I was just thinking. But
and to defend Tamiya, so most armor builders would maybe put one figure next to a piece of armor or a vehicle to demonstrate scale, to demonstrate how big or how small that particular piece of machinery is. Most of the time, they wouldn't necessarily put an entire crew with that vehicle, but they may put one figure next to it to demonstrate scale, or one figure in the turret, or one figure climbing onto the vehicle, or whatever it may be. So actually, we have hit the mainstream market, because if people want a crew, they're going to go down the 3D printed route, most people.
Yeah.
If they just want to demonstrate the size of that vehicle on a base or whatever, they're going to put one figure stuck next to it. Well, to me, give you that in the box.
Yeah. That's
I
understandable.
think it's more common. Like if you go to a lot of your shows and things like that, it's very common to see figures with armor. Okay, they're
Yes.
not; those guys aren't opposed to throwing figures on for everything that Luke just said. You go over to the aircraft, and you'll be hard pressed to find out of hundreds of planes any kind of pilot or any kind of crew
Yep.
standing around it. It's about that subject, whereas
Yeah.
armor, because it's more. I don't want to say organic, because they're crawling around in the dirt, so
Yeah.
it's natural to have guys around armor more so than it is
Absolutely.
than to just see an airplane sitting on the flight line driving by. No, that's just
Yeah, absolutely.
you know.
And what you've got to remember as well, and I appreciate that, you know, the majority of people don't enter any sort of contest or competition at any show. I get that, certainly here in the UK. But as you know, yesterday, Moz, there are rules. If you put 2 or more figures either in, on, or next to your piece of armor, that then becomes a vignette.
Yeah, that's right.
When you
Even
see
if
how
it's out of the box build, it comes with 6 figures. You can't do it. It's got to be 2.
So there are rules where people would perhaps build the piece of armor and do a cracking job, but they don't want to put a figure next to it or in it or on it or whatever, because maybe their figure painting isn't the same standard as their model building. So therefore they're going to put that tank, truck, armor car, whatever it may be, into the competition with no figure. Because the moment you start adding figures to it, 2 figures, vignette, 4 or more, it's a diorama. And that's why people may steer away from that. So the manufacturers have got a decision to make. So I understand with Airfix, Tamir only putting 1 in that box. Let's steer away from the figures, because the aftermarket guys have got that covered.
Yeah.
And therefore because a lot of those figures are just going to end up in landfill. That's if they put them in the box, and there's a cost implication to the manufacturers. Yeah. And certainly if you go back to 72nd scale, to produce good quality 72nd scale figures, they can't compete with the 3D market. They can't.
Yeah.
To make it viable, they can't do it.
Yeah. Well, I think anything solid, really, they can't compete with the 3D market. That's what I'm thinking of. You know, 3D print, solid wise, like figures, whatever, solid. But if it's thin, it's brittle as hell. So you've got the 2 sides to this. Can I share something from Black Rifle's Facebook page, Lee?
Yeah.
I saw this before the show, and I wanted to put up, not before that, but as we were doing the show. So I was looking at 3D Gizmo, because he's now producing 1/72nd scale armor. And as I was looking on the page a minute ago on Black Rifle, somebody's posted one up there. So, but I'm going to just share screen, Facebook, that one there. So we'll share that one. I think that's the one. Where's the link to? There it is. So 3D Gizmo is now producing 1/72nd scales, all 3D printed. So there's no build required. You just got to have a steady hand to put the to get the paint right. But you notice on the front of this one, I'm presuming this is the Sherman, isn't it? I think this is the Sherman.
Yeah.
Look at all the tracks on the front. You know, it's like overkill a little bit, but this, I like that style. Is that the future 1/72nd? Just to 3D print them like that? Now, I've had one of these, and I'll just let you know that he's got the little figure there on the top. And those doors, I picked it up by the doors being a twat, and I snapped them off. And I didn't even hold it that hard. I had to glue them back on. But so I'm just saying that bulk-wise, 3D printing, the detail on it is immaculate. But when you get the thin bits like this, I don't even suppose the barrel would be that strong. If you've got to be careful with it. It could easily snap.
But you could argue that with any 35th scale piece of armor, that if you pick it up in certain places, it's going to be delicate. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at that. That's 72nd scale. So that base is going to be what, 4 inches square, 4.5 inches square, maybe.
That's tiny.
Yeah. Perfect.
Does that turret rotate, Moss?
No, it doesn't. Oh, I don't know. I think it does. Yeah, it does. I think it does.
Because I would imagine the turret, isn't the turret printed separately?
The turret is printed separately.
Yeah, so it would rotate.
But then, and the figure, that's right, it's printed separately. So it's 2-piece, and then you just slot it on the top and spin it whichever way you want. But that's right, because I knew that somebody was asking, they didn't like the figure in it, and I remember somebody, when I bought mine, I remember when I showed it to people, said, "Oh, I'd rather without the figure in it. You could shut the hatches." I think it's actually printed. I saw it's so small. I'll try and get it bigger if I can. Can I get it big? Oh, there you go. Is that better? You can see the figure there. It's a very nicely detailed figure.
Yeah.
But as I said, on the side here, they were brittle, and as I said, I was just being a numpty. I pulled out the box, picking it up by those hatches, and one of them snapped. So. Coming, mother. So yeah, but look at the detail in that. Is that this? I just saying, is that the future 1/72nd? Just to buy a 3D print of one and you print it yourself, didn't you?
I think it would be
because I know that is what he will do with that kit in relation to techniques, painting, weathering, and everything that he will do to it. That's going to look amazing. That's going to look pretty much as far from toy-like as you could possibly get,
Well, the other thing I think to add as well is when you were talking about the strength of it, Moz, in general.
Yeah.
It's now becoming very popular within ships to 3D print radar arrays to replace photo etched brass ones. Because trying to put together photo edge brass ones has more squaring, more injuries, and God knows what involved in anything. It's horrendous, especially once you start getting to sort of Cold War square style naval ones, which are multi-layered and just horrendous. But now that they're 3D printing them, the way that I found is very good to strengthen them actually is to, if they're basic like this in the pure resin form, effectively, is to actually spray some hard lacquer over them and then prime them, because the lacquer seems to firm up the resin enough that then when you put the primer, because again, primer just about sticks to anything. So I normally put a flat coat of clear coat on, and that seems to strengthen up certainly the radar arrays massively. And that's a way I found that strengthens it, and it gets rid of that brittleness by giving it that coat. When it's sort of, you put multi layers of paint on it, it tends to sort of go a bit soft. Until you do put that final clear coat on. Whereas if you start with that, then put primer on top of the flat clear coat, it seems to work a treat.
So as a plan, but like I say, if I was going to do a 1/72nd scale, a 1/72nd scale tank now, I would be tempted to go down 3D Gizmo route. Like I said, I've got this one here, which I think is upstairs in the box because I built it and I put it up the top.
And that's the difference, So we had this discussion a few weeks ago. For certain subjects and for certain genres and certain parts of the hobby, what you're looking at on your screen now is the future.
Yeah.
It really, really is. And we can deny it all we want. We all love sticking styrene together and all that stuff. But it's coming. 3D Gizmo can do it. There are other companies out there that can do it. And if you look at that Sherman, and you compare it to the Airfix Sherman, there is no comparison. That is miles ahead in terms of detail, in terms of what you can do with it. It's just streets ahead of anything that can be produced in injection molding. It just is.
Think about this.
And that is the future, not for everything, But at that scale, look at that. I don't need to say anything. You can see it on the screen. It is what it is, and it's that good. You bought one, was, you know.
Yeah, because he said he told me one when he first done them. Just looking on his website now.
But also think about the simplicity of them to build. They're two-part. There's no fiddly little bits for starter kits. They're two-part. They go together just like that.
I might invite Dave on to talk about
with everything there. He's got the cast texture on the turret. He's got all this storage. Everything's there.
That's crazy.
Yes, it's a painting challenge and it's a weathering challenge at that scale. Absolutely. But it can be done there. And as I say, knowing who that guy is that's got one, wait until you see the finished one. Do you know what I mean? It will be good and it won't look toy-like.
I might get him on in a couple of weeks. I'll see if he's around in a couple of weeks again, because he's been on before, because he was telling us about the future of it, and he was he knows his shit. He really does. But then again, I was there on Sunday. He was right opposite us, and he had this 3D printed Predator alien figure. And one of the lads at our model club, Graham, and if you know his figure painting, he's just outstanding. I've got to know Graham really well. He's become like my uncle, really. And I've always said that I want to sit there one day and just watch him just paint and learn from him. But I said that I didn't buy it because it was, I think, about 75 quid, I think it was. But I wouldn't be able to do it any justice because you've got to be into figure painting. Yeah. But when it comes to these little 1/72 scale tanks, to be honest with you, you don't need to be that precise with detail on them, because you could probably blend a lot of this in anyway. Yeah. I think if the storage was separate, I think I'll be a lot more confident. But then again, well, why bother? Just print it as one big. But
then you look at a lot of 35th scale armor builders, and they will build the piece of armor before they paint it, including tools, storage, everything. So it's actually no different that just happens to be there. It's the same technique, just smaller.
Yeah, I don't even think you would worry about
20 quid.
Yeah, this is the one that got me. Was this one here, the M8 that he's got?
Great.
This is 20 quid as well.
The detail is superb.
Look at it's got the goggles on the fucking it's got the goggles on the helmet,
Look at that machine gun.
And it's when you look at things like this, and there's another company out there, in the interests of balance, Osiris Models. They do a lot of modern British stuff in various scales. It's all 3D printed. They do down to 72nd as well. And when people say it's not the future, look at that. Because there's not many people that could achieve that in 35th scale.
Yeah.
And this is Pandora's box that we're looking at here. This has now been opened truly, is because not only do you get the detail, but you get the range and versatility of what can actually now be modeled. And that, for traditional modeling companies in terms of injection molding, if they don't keep up and they don't so their effective, their key selling point is effectively, we build models that build nicely, build accurately, and we have a bit of variety. Now with the 3D modeling, the fact that you can print anything you want in generally better detail, the likes of, that's why I think, for example, you'll see a lot of the Eastern European companies, they're coming out with random things because they are literally looking at 3D printing and going, we need to diversify our subjects. We need to make sure anything and everything is modeled effectively in injection, because people at present will still go in with injection over 3D printing.
Yeah.
But there's going to become some point where there's enough critical mass of people that have done 3D printing and worked with it that go, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go with that if I had the choice between an injection molding and a 3D print. And I think that's the worry for these companies.
And
They've got to diversify quickly.
I think in 70-second scale, going back to the original point, that is without doubt the future, the 3D printed model. And what you've got to appreciate is there's a lot of people out there. I'm kind of in a halfway house, really. But there's a lot of people out there that don't want to spend. I couldn't do what Jim does, for example, and spend months and months and months building a kit before I get to paint. I couldn't do that. But for Jim, that's the thing. He enjoys that. That's part of his hobby. But we live in such a fast-paced world now that a lot of people don't have the time to see any sort of end result. Whereas they buy one of these, they put it together in an afternoon and they're into paint. And for a lot of people, it's the painting and the weathering that they enjoy. That's why the wargaming world is so popular. Way more popular than scale modeling. Way more. Because people have built it and they're into paints and they can see the fruits of their labor quite quickly. And because we live in such a fast-paced world, you know, a guy or girl could put this together on a Sunday afternoon, get it into primer, then the following Sunday afternoon, it's into paint and they're starting to see some color on it and everything else. And they're getting that almost instant-ish gratification, which is the world we live in now.
So I don't. Sorry, are you going to just? Lox9 said the death knell of injection molded plastic. I don't think it is.
No,
I think there's always going to be a place for injection molded plastic.
Yeah, absolutely. But probably not at this scale.
Yeah.
This was
There's
going to be my question.
two things worth pointing out, Luke, as well, is that there's no filler required in this. You're never going to have an issue with the finish on the actual kit before painting. And you're never going to have an issue with does the glue put this bloody plastic together, because it's not plastic, it's already made.
Exactly.
Well, and this is the question
I've just finished, not from 3D Gizmo, from the other company I mentioned.
Yeah.
A 35th scale 3D printed model.
I mean, look at that.
And you can't get that in injection mold anyway, because it's quite a niche subject. It's a Saxon, so there is no injection molded kit for that. But even at that scale, there's no filler on that kit. You know, I had to put the wheels on it. I think I had to put the turret on it, the doors. But there's no, to your point, John, there's no messing around. You know, it just, you remove the parts from what would be the sprue. I forget what they call it. The printing.
Well, that is never going to find its way in somebody's bin.
No, because it'll be done. It'll be finished.
That's right.
It'll be done.
But there's no frustration element to it.
No. James C. Beechings just said two friends of mine who have had a successful war games model company for 30 years are unable to compete with 3D printing. 3D printing's caught up cost-wise and quality-wise. Well, that's what I'm saying. This car is £9.
Yeah.
On their site. I think it was that bloody
exactly that.
Yeah.
£9.
My only question is though to this is the 70-second scale world now? I know we talk of it of the technology of the future, but this is, I think, this is happening today. Is this a precursor for other scales, or other scales have a different sort of? So I think in terms of certainly for 1350, 3D printed ships exist in full. They are not, certainly for me, they are not as fun to do as standard injection kits. Where I find 3D printing has its role is enhancing the smaller details, so weapons, etc. But actually big parts such as superstructure, etc. for ships and hulls, injection's better. So I think for 1350 it's still going to be a mix. But say for aircraft, like with Jim, do you foresee that you'll go fully 3D printed like this, or will it still be a mix and match, and there always will be the injection assemblers as well as 3D print?
Who knows? Who knows what the future brings? But you know, it was just a couple years ago. Everybody was saying when 3D printing was coming about. It was just like, well, it's never going to replace, injection molding. And we're still kind of there, but we're seeing right here in certain small scales that it very, very well can replace it. There's a company out there right now that's doing a 3D printed 48 scale flanker. Okay, it's hugely expensive, $500, and I don't know how many they're going to sell. But 2 years, it's just kind of like what you said earlier. I still see it for the foreseeable future with your bigger scale stuff. Yeah, 3D printing is going to lend itself to detail work. Smaller scale stuff, you're going to get the whole model.
I agree, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
At last.
35th scale 3D printed Armour, for example. So the company that I was talking about, they do every scale from 1/100th up to 1/16th. And you order which scale you want, and they print the model and send it to you. Or print the kit, I should say, and send it to you. But that's expensive.
Yeah.
So, for example, that Saxon that I've just finished, that was £120, I believe. But 10 years ago, we wouldn't have seen this. We wouldn't. So, like that guy who commented, his friends who run a modeling company have now realized they cannot keep up because 3D printing is catching up. It's catching up on cost. It's catching up on what can be done. In 10 years from now, that's going to be in 35th scale.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
But look at that. Go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No.
I was gonna say, this is £14. This is, and you can see how you put it together. Basically, it's all done for you, isn't it? And I'm gonna just maybe it's a discussion for an Airfix and Chill at a later date. Are there Gen Xers and then the Gen Zers and then the whatever generation what they call it now? Because as a Gen Xer, we never had computer games and things like that, really. We were building scale models. 1960. If you were born 1960 to 1980, I think, was it 1955 to 1980? That's when scale model kits really hit, and everybody was doing them as a child, weren't they? This is Gen Xers. But this could be for those who don't want to build the kits, just want to paint them. But then you'll have to learn new techniques to paint this up because everything's already in the tray at the back, in the body. So you're gonna have to learn how to paint those rows just there, those rows there, separate to the bottles of milk that they've got at the back and the front here where you've got some barrels. You're gonna have to learn and have a very steady hand. And also this would bring back the brush painters, the heavy stickers, wouldn't it, to get this one to be done. But the other thing I was going to say was that I don't think you could do the cab inside because there's no way of getting into it to paint that cab inside. So it does have its disadvantages, surely.
Well, surely you just paint it before you put the cab on.
I didn't see that. It's separate, isn't it? So I'm talking
the interior is separate.
No, I'm saying I just seen the interior separate. I didn't see that. I just saw the front end there. That's the point. So you could paint. So basically, you're painting the interior, then glue that together, whack it on the front, then do the tracks and the gearing separately as well. And before you know it, without having to stick any of this together, apart from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bits, you've got a model that's painted and ready to go, haven't you? Bloody hell!
And painting the interior of the cab, for example, and then putting the interior inside the cab is no different. Although the interior is constructed for you, it's no different from a painting point of view than what we all do now with an injection molded kit. Whether that be a cockpit, a vehicle interior, we paint it before we put the vehicle together, and then we mask the canopy, we mask the windows, we mask whatever, then we paint the outside.
Jim Brooks just said exactly, this isn't modelling, it's painting and weathering. How soon before the printing includes colour and weathering? Then there is nothing to do. No, we've already got that, mate. We call it Corgi diecast, so you're all right there. I think we're one step away from. I think we're one step away from that. But I even think if there is no longer be any kits available, the need for construction, I would switch to do my building in CAD instead. Just looking through some of the comments. The Schwemmwagen in 72nd equals very small. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And John Farron's just saying, these are very nice, but what am I making? And I think that is part of it.
Right.
Yeah, but you're still making a model. I mean,
it's just evolution, isn't it? Because go back 100 years, people were making models of boats or whatever by whittling wood.
Yeah. On aircraft.
Yeah.
On aircraft, you know, and they were whittling wood, which is a skill set all by itself. Then it evolved to injection molding, photo etch, and all that stuff. So people are still constructing stuff. They're just using different techniques. If you ask, I'm guessing, anyone here on this panel to take a block of wood and whittle it into a Spitfire, most of us would struggle. To have something decent at the end, mine would not look like a Spitfire. I know that. But,
and just one other thing I will say is that when it comes, and I think this is a very, very valid point. Matthew Southall said this quite good. It's like CD and vinyl all over again. The perfection of 3D printing will take over, but the rawness of traditional build will never go away.
Absolutely.
But my fear will be this, right? When it comes to 3D printing, there is no way of protecting your copyright or your trademark or whatever when it comes to this. It's like Airfix. Well, I don't know. I think that, like we've seen, you know, we went down this route with CDs and with music. As soon as you could illegally download, that was it. There was no market. Where it comes to plastic kits and stuff, I think that there will always be a market there because they will continue making tooling for this. I'll be right with you, Jim. Let me finish my point. When it comes to 3D printing, I can't see a future for people to be manufacturing 3D printed stuff, because what will happen is that the majority of us will get a printer and print them ourselves, but we'll just buy, the money will be in the person, but he won't be able to protect that because it will just go around. Anyone could be able to copy and paste it and print it themselves. And that's why it's very rarely you see a photocopier anywhere these days in a library or a shop or anything, because everybody's got printers at home. You see where I'm coming from? I don't see there's a stable market for this. There is a time now.
If you look at the dynamic, 3D Gizmo, let's use him as an example because you've shown his website. He doesn't sell the STL file.
No.
He sells you the kit.
But there are scanners out there now that scan these things. I've seen them working.
Yeah.
You know.
But at the moment, because 10 years ago, that stuff wouldn't even exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In 10 years' time, we don't know. Going back to Jim's point, who knows what the future holds? We don't know whether there's going to be a way of protecting purchased STL files. We don't know that. You're always going to get, we see it now, particularly with figures, recasts. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's down a lot of the time. You can buy pirated music now rather than use iTunes. You can do that. You can download it for free. Yeah. There's always going to be people that find a way around legality.
But go on then. Sorry, Jim, I'll jump to you and then we'll go to Nigel. What was your point, Jim?
I was going to say, and further on to Luke's point, and Brett and I are probably, and maybe John, you know, we're the three oldest fossils in here that are old enough to remember. And you talk about ways around and always trying to game a system. How many times did we sit by the radio waiting for our favorite song to come on and then play and record at the same time? So
absolutely, man.
It's really nothing new.
That was
I remember the top 40 being on every Sunday night, and I'll be sat on that radio ready to press.
Yeah.
There was always an art to stopping it before the guy speaks in, wasn't there? You know?
Yeah.
Over the Mountain came on.
It's no different.
Yeah.
What was it say? As a young whippersnapper, which I think it's fair to say I could class. I am still old enough though to remember before most movies, and I think in the early 2000s, you had that typical pirate ad, whatever it was. You wouldn't you wouldn't do this, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't download an illegal film.
Yeah, you wouldn't steal from a shop.
You wouldn't steal from a shop. That classic, yeah. Are we going to now see those adverts for 3D printed models? You wouldn't steal it. You know,
Do you remember when DVDs used to have a code on the front of the disc?
Yeah.
Stopped you recording it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but when you put the DVD into your player, if you had a recorder, it had a code.
It's like anything in life, isn't it? It's like anything in life. It's down to the individual to make a moral decision as to whether. So personally, I've bought 35th scale figures, resin figures that I wanted for a particular vignette or diorama or whatever it may be, and I've paid upwards of £30 for one figure. And the reason I've done that is because it's an original.
Mm-hmm.
However, you could go onto AliExpress or Temu or any of these places and you can buy a recast of the same figure for £4.
Yeah.
It's down to the individual and a moral choice, because the moment you're buying recasts, the original artist that has either sculpted that figure or designed it in CAD or whatever it may be, whatever their medium of choice is, the moment you do that, you're taking money away from the artist. And at that point, they're going to stop doing it eventually, because it's not going to be enough money for them to earn a living. The stand next to yours yesterday, Mars, had a big sign on it. It got a lot of busts and figures and stuff. I forget the name of the club. It's on my video, shameless plug. But they got a big sign on their stand saying no recasts. And then they got a whole paragraph of information about what you're doing if you buy recasts from eBay, AliExpress, Temu, and all these places. So it's down to the individual to make a choice. There will always be a way around it.
Yeah.
Always.
I'll make one final point on this, then we'll go over to Nigel. With this, what you're saying is exactly what happened in the magic community. You used to buy the magic, you used to buy the manuscripts to teach you how to do the trick. And then these magicians now, they just keep the secrets to themselves. They'll just make the money by performing their own tricks. You know what I mean?
thought it was magic, though.
No, it's not magic, mate. No. You know, I could go up here and produce a 10p like that out of a camera lens, but, you know, you have to buy that trick to learn it, you know, so... And that's why that was all part of it. Magicians never reveal their secrets, not because of the magic, it's commercial. Because if I teach you how to make a pen disappear in a particular way, and I teach it to somebody else, the person who created that trick won't get any money for it.
Can you make an elephant disappear off the stage?
No, I've never done that, mate. That was.
Can you make yourself disappear?
Wow, and he's come back.
Anyway, Nigel, hello, mate. How's it going?
I've been sat here. I was sat here for 20 to 9 in the back room waiting for you to see me.
Oh, were you?
Back in. Yeah.
I am. Do you know what? I need James. James, see, can only have one admin on here, and it's normally James, and James is having a month off live stream. And the trouble is that when you get more than 6, it drops a person below the screen. So you've got to scroll down. And next time, mate, just go to the private chat and just write in private chat, "Oi, wanker, I'm here. I'll let you in." That's how normally we do it. So I do apologise, Nigel. I really do. But I knew you said you were coming in at 9 o'clock, so I thought you'd be nice.
Yeah.
So
I'd be before. I had a bit of a crisis.
Okay.
On the 3D printed thing,
Yeah.
as somebody currently building a 3D printed model, the Bolt and Paul Defiant, I have some views that other people will not agree with. My biggest issue with it is it's very, very simplified, and the detail is absolutely amazing. I mean, the cockpit in that Defiant is absolutely amazing, and it's like 3 parts or 4 parts. So it's all about, as you've been saying, it's all about the painting. But the trouble for me is you can't add any detail. There's nothing to add. So everybody's model will be exactly the same, depending on how they paint it. And it's like the models you've been looking at tonight, the Sherman, the Cooper wagon, you had that truck just now with all the stuff in the back. Everybody's model is going to be exactly the same. Whereas builds a model of T55 and puts loads of stowage on it, I could in a million years replicate that because he's probably got his own stowage as well. It's not modeling. 3D printing is not modeling. And that's what I think. And also, just going on, I talked about the stability thing in one of my videos. It's very strange with this bolt and pull defiant. I had a nightmare getting the instrument panel to fit. And I think the fuselage is like that. As soon as you clip the nose on, it brings it in, and the instrument panel fits lovely. And it's very funny that Airscale have just announced that their new Typhoon will not be 3D printed. It will be injection molded. And all the detail will be 3D printed.
Mm-hmm.
And he discovered in this hot summer we had, the undercarriage collapsed. So he's had to use different materials. So that's something else to consider with 3D printed resin.
Airfix said that in their video about the Spitfire, that because everything was all designed 3D printed, what they designed to make sure it all fitted together. And he said within a couple of months, it melted because of the heat.
Yeah.
But the other argument is this, is 3D print plastic?
No.
No, it's resin.
It's resin.
It's resin.
And
so
also
IPMS, in theory, should be going back to its roots of being a plastic model show. If I put a kit in that's a Korg that's metal die cast, we had this conversation about that Dragon kit. The turret, also the body, was cast metal.
Right.
And in theory, that wouldn't be able to go into their competition. Because
I don't know. Yesterday, that 3D printed resin model did okay.
It did, yeah. No, there's IPMS though, is it?
I just think, in my opinion, which counts for shit, if Luke builds a beautiful model of a Kugelwagen in 35th scale, he's put a lot of work into it, a lot of work into the painting and the weathering and loading up all the ammo and everything. And I go and buy a 3D printed one and just paint it. No.
Yeah, but that's why they'd go in different categories in shows, and if we start start saying about how much we like it, we'll start Jim off. So
we don't want to do that again.
We don't.
Woo, woo.
I think there's a place. I think there's a place for it. I think there's a place for 3D print.
I think, yeah, there's. As I said, it's evolution of the hobby, and I take Nigel's point completely. That if you've got a flatbed trailer that's been 3D printed, you could have 100 people that purchase that kit. They're all going to have the same stowage in the same position. There's not much you can do to change that, really. Yeah. Then it comes down to the skill of the painting. Really, that's what will make the difference. But the actual construction, no. But that's no different to injection molding coming along and in the main replacing people whittling stuff out of wood. It's just evolution.
The point I'm making, Luke, is when you look at my A20 Boston, which I must put back on the bench, I built the cockpit 3 times. I built it out of the box, then I built it with Edward. Then I built it with Airscale and bits of Edward and other bits from Anise. And it's absolutely awesome. And nobody else's cockpit will be the same. My Defiant, Jamie Haggers built one. It will be exactly the same as his.
Yeah, in relation to the construction, yeah.
Yeah, but we're going to paint it the same colours. We're going to weather it the same. We're going to dry brush it the same.
I disagree there, because you could have 2 modelers that put together the same model in exactly the same way. The skill comes in the finish.
He's a better modeler than I am, without a doubt.
So although you might have the same subject in front of you, painting and weathering is a skill in itself.
Yeah, and I don't find it at all satisfying. I like the building.
And that's it. And there's the niche. And like
there it is
in the chat there about painting and weathering, and you put a lot of effort into it to make it look a certain way. 3D printing is no different, because you put a lot of effort into the painting and weathering to make it look a certain way. For some people, construction is the part of the hobby they enjoy the most. For some people, painting is the bit they enjoy the most. For other people, weathering is the bit they enjoy the most. For other people, constructing a vignette or a diorama is what they enjoy the most. So there's so many areas. But we're looking at 70-second scale. You can buy that Kuba wagon for what was it, £9?
£8.50.
£8.50. I defy any injection molding company to produce that level of detail at that scale for less than a tenner.
Vespid Models do I can't remember the number now. It's a 6-wheel or an 8-wheel German car with full interior in 1/72 scale.
Now, how much?
$14.99.
$14.99. So it's more than a tenner. And does it look like that Sherman, or does it look like that vehicle that you just showed, that German vehicle?
That Kuba wagon.
Exactly. That's the thing. And some people now, because of the fast-paced environment we live in, they don't want to spend 3 or 4 months putting together the Vespid model kit with photo etch and everything else. What they want to do is spend a few hours, put something together, and then the following week they can start painting it, and they're getting that instant gratification. None of us here are that person. None of us. We spend inane amounts of time building, painting, weathering. We do. We spend a lot of time doing it. But it's evolving.
I think 3D printing is great for adding detail. Like I've just bought the set for the little Stolly, but the problem is it's like Moss said just now. It's so fragile, and like Ben said, the ship kits. You know, I've got shitloads of 3D printed guns. You can't touch the barrels. Ping, they're gone. So,
but that's
the detail. That's the detail in that Kuba wagon. It's even got like a rifle in the back seat. Do you know what I mean?
It's impressive.
But people, to John Parker's point, people don't have to mess about with it. You could do that. You could do that at 70 seconds ago with an injection molded kit. You could do something very similar. However, that's going to take you a lot of time to achieve that level of detail. Whereas that's printed. You've got to put the wheels on and put the driver in it. That's it.
I will say one thing though, if anything, hopefully this will push down the cost of plastic model kits.
No,
because they have fixed costs they have to meet.
It's green.
I don't think it will.
Kits are expensive.
And I think that's why the injection molded mainstream manufacturers are starting to become very worried, because some guy or girl that's very good on CAD can produce, and then knows how to print it, can produce that Kuba wagon for less than a tenner. And the main, like Ben said, they've got fixed costs they have to meet. They have to meet the designer costs. They have to meet the researcher's salary. They have to meet the cost of injection molding. They have to meet all these costs producing the tool. The 3D printer doesn't need to do that.
Just want to say though that this here, this new Tamiya tank is 40 quid, and it's just pure plastic, right? This one here is 25. There's more parts in this than there is that. This comes with metal barrel, photo etch, copper, you know, I'm saying it all. This comes with a decal sheet. Both length tracks, okay? You know what? There's better value in this one. And they've been taught the same year, 2025.
But what are you saying is value? What
value is subjective, because I bet that Tamiya kit goes together better and easier than the Das Work kit.
I don't know. This Taken one apparently is absolutely.
I'm sure it is. I've built them.
I can guarantee one thing: most of the Tamiya instructions will be better.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the Taken ones are better than the Tamiya ones. I've looked. I'll send you pictures. I'll do a video. Watch the video with the instructions for this M36, and I'll send you the instructions for this Taken one, and you'll be like, "Well, actually, that Taken one looks a lot easier."
But value is subjective.
It is subjective.
Yeah.
And
I'm
that's
just
really
saying,
it.
I'm just saying, if you wanna build an M36, you know, I'm just
You're not going down the same road as the Atari Spitfire versus the Airfix Spitfire.
yeah.
It's 24.
Does it come with an engine though, Nigel? So Qatari shit.
Why not? There's no pilot.
See, there's Armour aficionados that would take that Tamiya kit every day, all day, over that Blitz kit, because I know there's guys over here, they won't even look at a Blitz kit because it's got this, and this wrong with it, you know. And that's, you know, it's just who's your market, who you're trying to appeal to, and I don't know. I don't think Tamiya.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand accuracy is quite important, and I do get that. But if you're a modeler, and you know, I just, as I said, the lads at ISCO were taking the piss out of me on Wednesday because I said, "Look at all this for 25 quid," and the people I've talked to have built it are saying it's fantastic. So, and then that's why I got into conversation about the M36. You know, I've just built the Chieftain because you've built this one as well, haven't you, Lee?
Yeah.
It's a 1975 kit. And there's been no issue putting it together at all. It's just
I love that kit. I've built one brilliant kit.
It is a very pleasurable build.
Same as the Walkable
pleasurable kit. However, compare that to the Chieftain that Nigel's built, which was the one, I think, the Mark 11,
Mark 5,
Mark 5.
Berlin camo.
The near one goes together a lot easier. It goes together, you know, it's like Lego almost, isn't it? However, it's not accurate.
No,
it hasn't got a patch on the detail. I mean,
no, nowhere near.
But then that comes back to overall value. What are you looking for?
That's what I mean.
Together or detail?
Yeah.
Like the Walker Bulldogs were 15 quid, weren't they? This one was 18 quid, I think, this Chieftain. Yeah. But seeing that's 18 quid for £7 more, if you want to do a Jag Panther with all the bits and pieces, that pisses over that Tamiya. That Tamiya one should be worth a tenner then. If this is 25, that Tamiya one should even be touching £10. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Back to Ben's point, they've got costs they need to meet as a mainstream manufacturer.
But so with this lot, so Tackham.
I think value is subjective. I don't think you can. You're not comparing eggs with eggs.
Oh, okay. I'm going to build that one. I'm going to come back to you and say,
I'm sure it's a great build. I'm sure it's a great build.
Yeah.
But is it accurate? Probably not.
Could we do my countdown?
Yeah, of course you can, mate. Yeah, crack on.
Everybody would be dead on here. Have you all you guys entered?
I have.
I think I did, maybe. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Remember? Yes, I think. Yes, you did. Yeah. So, do it then, Moss.
Right, big screen.
No, you do it.
Well, I'm gonna pick a number.
You do it because you can share your screen on there, can't you?
What do you want to do? Pick a number.
Yeah.
Yeah, a random number generator on Google, 1 to 1,000.
Random generator. Yeah. Okay. Here you go. If I share my screen. Well, maximum. What's the maximum number? You said 999, wasn't it?
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000. 1 to 1,000.
And remember, if somebody's got one below and somebody's got one above, it's the person that's got one above that wins.
Okay, right. Add to stage. Here we go.
Got the same number as you, it'll get drawn again.
Yeah, whoops. Wrong one. I want that one, big one. That's the one. All right, ready? Let's put it in. Generating number 256.
Oh, I'm fucking close to that.
256. The winner is a guy called Jeff Wotton 509.
Jeff Wotton 509.
He chose 262.
Oh, brilliant.
Zinzan had 254.
Oh.
I had 69 because I'm rude.
So if Jeff Wotton's watching now, then he can message me on Nigel's Mod Dimension.
What's it called again? Jeff who?
Jeff Wotton. W-O-O-2-T-O-N.
Wotton, congrats.
Yeah. And if you're a scammer, piss off.
So fair play there, mate. Fair play on winning that one. So get in contact with Nigel for yourself. 256. I had 69, so I was 200 out.
I was hoping you were going to win this.
Pardon?
I was hoping you were going to win.
I'd love to get that kit. I'm tempted because they do look nice to put together. So fair play to you. Fair play.
Nice.
I just want to go back. Somebody starred. So Phil Model's making. I have the Airfix 176 Chieftain tank and a 135th Tamiya one. I was thinking of doing them as a big build and a little build video with them. Yeah, do it, mate. As I said, I enjoy building them. I've just got to weather mine and it's done. I built the Takom Panther easy build. The wheels go in sections, metal barrel, and a tiny bit of photo etch was a nice build. Das Werk is a collaboration between owner of MBK. MBK, so they don't tool. Das Werk don't tool their own vehicles. Then they haven't got their own vehicles or their
Same
own
as
tooling.
Hobby headquarters. They
Takom.
They
Takom do it.
contract Takom to do a kit for them, and then they put their name on it.
I wonder if I could get a Bearcat by Takom.
No,
They do the most
So
modern
any
ones.
any of the 1/16th, as Nigel said, Andy's hobby headquarters,
Yes.
he was like the pioneer, wasn't he? 16th, which has now seen a resurgence, certainly in Armour. But all of that stuff is tooled and produced by Takom.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
The Das Werk banner.
I know
Various of
I know
Das-
Dasverk do separate crew figures for their tanks
Yeah,
next scale, don't
Yeah.
they?
But they are part of Takom.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Or a sister company or whatever.
If you look at
Yeah.
some of the Das Werk new releases, they're Takom retools, and vice versa, I think. But Das Werk started out on their own with a submarine, didn't they? That nobody else had ever done, and they've done a couple of other kits that no one had ever done. But then you see when Takom brought out the Apache, OMG!
Was it bad?
No.
Is gorgeous. The decals, I wouldn't use them as toilet paper, and the instructions, I wouldn't use them as toilet paper either.
Yeah, the instructions are terrible. I built mine from reference pictures that Jim sent me. The decals are like wallpaper. They're terrible, but you can now get aftermarket decals, which Brett sent me. But now Meng have released theirs with better decals, better instructions for about the same price. You would have to. The Takom kit is phenomenal. It's very, very good. The level of detail and everything is brilliant. But that's not an easy kit because of the issues that are with it and what you'd have to spend on aftermarket decals. Then you've got to decipher the instructions by learning Latin or God knows what. So people would automatically go towards the Meng now.
If
Because
you watch
they rectified those issues before they released.
if you watch my video, I take you through bit by bit, like because trying to work out how to build the rotor head for the instructions that's a joke. And the problem is they don't tell you not to glue this or glue that or this must rotate or whatever. It's terrible. But
I don't know whether you said it in one of your videos, Nigel, maybe. The person that designed and wrote the instructions was someone, I think, that knew that kit inside out.
yes, yeah.
So they negated to put a lot of stuff in there because they know the kit so well. Well, that's great for them. But if you're buying the kit, you don't know the kit that well. You don't know how that rotor head goes together. Like they put seatbelts in the kit, but there's no mention of those seatbelts at all in the instructions.
And they put decals for because there's decals on the side of
on the
here or something, and they don't mention
them at all.
And like putting that in around the top.
Yeah,
it sounds like the same as their ship instructions. Their ship instructions are no better.
No,
they're pretty rubbish.
But as a kit, the level of detail and what you can achieve with that kit is phenomenal. It's very, very good.
I don't know about you guys. what I'm finding now, more and more with kits from any manufacturer, from any country, their build sequences seem to be a modeler did not design the build sequence of this kit.
I think they're reverse engineering it off the CAD design itself because, like you say, the assembly for some of the stuff is bizarre. Even some of the new trumpeter kits, for example, like I've got, was it the recently released Dido class in 350? Whoever came up with how you're meant to build that was either high, didn't know the kit, or I don't really know. It makes no sense. You build random bits of the superstructure, to which you'll then come back to later on in the instructions, or in certain bits you just think, hang on, are you completely omitting that for whatever reason? And with ship kits, it's gone from the traditional way of like Tamio, where you would build it like a real ship from the whole up. For some reason now they'll start building superstructure down, and it's just mental.
It's like with aircraft kits, they'll have you get like a B-17, and they'll have you fit the engines and the propellers to the wings and the undercarriage before you fit the fuselage. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well then, what company makes the best instructions?
Zukimura.
Qatari.
I'm going to say Airfix.
Qatari. Qatari / Zucamura.
As someone who hasn't done either Zucamura or Qatari, I'd have to agree. The latest Airfix instructions are probably the best I've worked with.
They're very, very simple to understand, aren't they? They're very clear.
The Airfix ones are excellent. I would say probably nearly market leader now for instructions of consistency. That's one thing on every release. Generally speaking, they are hitting the mark every time is the instructions.
I have to agree.
I'm going to just put out the reason why Airfix instructions are good is because you've got a before and after. That's why they're so good. Once you do it on the next page, where it's marked in red, that's what it looks like after, and that is the difference. I think Revell were doing it for a while and they stopped doing it, but it's that before and after, and that's why they're really good.
Airfix used to do like the last section of their instructions was an image of the whole kit built up, wasn't it? Do you remember that?
Always was. Still is now.
Yeah.
It still is now, is it? Because I haven't got any like new stuff.
Yeah, it still is
the
now.
only manufacturer that doesn't give you sprue callouts, unless it's
they are. Yeah, they've never done sprue callouts.
They do on the starter kits.
Yeah, but not the new one.
But then I've never really looked at sprue callouts. If it's A, B, C, D, E, and then look for the number. I'll tell you what I do like on the
to go back to
on the main kits. Get this one here. That the numbers are actually on. Sounds really daft, but bear with me when I say this. So the numbers are actually on the kit, but the numbers are on the actual sprue gates.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do is, if you want to paint them, normally on the Airfix one, there's a little box beside you with a number. Because they're on the sprue gate, you can cut the part off with the sprue gate with the part on, and then hold that onto your clippers, whatever, onto your what are they called?
Crocodile
clips. Paint it, and then because the number is still on the sprue gate.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, the other thing is if you're doing like a tank and it's got loads of grab handles, you can put them off.
Yeah.
And you can see which is which. You can glue them on and then cut that off after.
Yeah. I think that's what I like about these kits from Tactium. It's that they haven't got like a separate box. The numbers imprinted on the sprue gate, which obviously pardon?
You said Meng, didn't you, originally?
Tactium. Tactium and Das Wax. Did I say Meng? Did I? I don't know. I said Meng.
You said Meng originally.
Oh, sorry. I apologise. Yeah.
Bloody well should as well.
We're keeping track.
Yeah. I don't think I'll fucking zoom out. Anyway, when we put the zoom thing on it, this didn't work for a treat. It should. Can you see that now? See the numbers on the?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. There you go. You can cut that off, paint the part, and you saw what the number is. You haven't got to worry about it. Love that. That is, and also, you know, you think about it, Airfix, you know, they don't put a sprue gate around some of the starter sets. Well, get rid of the square boxes and just put it on the sprue gate, the number. You save on the plastic, then you can have a proper frame to go around, a runner to go around it. Like,
it's not because they want to save on the plastic. It can't be.
It is. It's a save on the plastic.
I was chatting to a guy yesterday, boss.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that at Airfix, all of the initial test shots are done in the UK. That's not right, is it?
No, that's a lie. That is. No, that's a lie. No, they're done in China, and then when they're happy with the test shots, they then ship it across to India. Then they do the test shots from India. Then they're flown across in that, and then they start on the build, and then they get, I think it's 6 with the packaging, decals and everything flown over. 2 go to Scale Model magazine, you know, Airfix magazine, and the other ones, they have enough to build the scheme, so they build each model to the scheme that they have. So a model's got 4 schemes, they will build that model 4 times in the different schemes.
So with the test shots, I presume we're talking.
What's that, mate?
At what point do they introduce the sink marks?
They're introduced by India, mate.
I've got one here, it's perfect. I got another study, it's perfect. But the short shots.
What I was going to say, with the test shots, so they may be talking about the 3D printing version that they sometimes do on some of the kit.
They 3D print the parts.
I'd say here, though,
here.
don't they? Yeah.
But it's only basic. It gives them an idea of how far they've gone.
It's just testing their CAD design. That's what I think maybe he was talking about, rather than the actual produce the major test.
No, he was talking about the tools go to the company where the Spitfire was made.
Oh no,
that's rubbish. No. The only tool that ended up at Plastech was that Spitfire.
Yeah.
But I would like more. The trouble is that
done here.
You know, I can't defend Airfix for it, because the guy, you know, that was the funniest thing, because when I was up there picking up my Stolly from the competition, everybody was there asking me questions about the Stolly. And one guy was like, "What did you find it then?" I was, "Yeah, what about the sink marks?" My kit wasn't so bad, and the sink marks that are on the side of the bed, you know, if you look at Mr. Hughes's channel, you see those runs on the back as well. So I know they're a little bit indented, but once you paint them up and weather them, you can't see them so bad. And they are there on the original. I understand mine won't sink marks were too bad. There are some with bad sink marks. I get that. You know, if you've got a problem, send it back, or they'll send you replacements. You know, and then he had a go about the Spitfire, and he said, "Oh, I think it was awful." And I don't know. I looked at it as glorious that they were now putting masking sets in the kits. It's a big thing for them to do that, and I've heard, so they are in contact with the company that they're going to be doing, you know, they're with Edard to bring out these masking sets, and with the 3D print, their design, by the way. It's not they've gone to Edard or we could use. They've given them everything and said, "Come back with what we need," and they've done it. So, you know, and can I say, did they say it was Edard? Should I announce it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Edard. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm just not figure it out for it.
Yeah. Go get myself in shit then. Edard masking sets, and I think it's a big thing, and I think you'll see more of it to come. I really do. And he goes, "Well, I think, you know, that they, well, whatever."
Wish they used ASK.
You know,
I wish they used ASK.
ASK.
Yeah, they're much better than Edward.
Are they?
Mm.
Oh, fair enough.
Can I ask the question of the panel?
They're thinner and a bit better.
Can I ask a question of the panel, Moss?
Yeah.
Do you know, or does anybody know what's happened to Hasegawa 72nd scale armor kits?
No.
I haven't seen them for ages.
Because you can still buy them from the Far East. Is it just Amarang that don't bring them into Europe?
Amarang don't bring them in, generally speaking, because they were part of the Ritmax group, and Amarang, I think.
So it's an Amarang issue, because you can definitely order them from
Yeah.
media sites from the Far East.
Yes.
Really?
So Agmarang is still the
Yeah.
main Hasegawa importer,
This
but
They don't bring them
they're
in.
not.
took me
Yeah, they're
4
not
months to
bringing
get
them
hold of one of these.
So the other place I saw that had that imported, no, well, they might have been Fujimi. I'm trying to think. They might have been Fujimi actually. Was Expo Tools and Drills. They bought in some. I think they bought in a small selection of Hasegawa once, but also they bring in the Fujimi stuff. But yeah, the main distributor is Agmarang, and they
Yeah, I
should
always
bring
knew it
them
was
in.
Agmarang for me. I like that.
But again, for example, if 70-second kits, a bit like the whole big discussion today, we've been having, if they're not selling, would you import them?
True.
They're old, though, aren't they? They're not great.
They are old,
ancient, and their figures are absolutely abysmal.
So why are you worried if they're going to send them in or not, there, mate?
Because I'm build projecting them on my channel.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I've got them all now. It's not an issue. I've got every single one of them in the range, but it took me 4 months to get the grant. And for some reason, most people wanted 40 quid for it.
If you had said I got one here,
I paid about 8 quid, I think, for mine.
Yeah.
Tiger Hobbies has got a couple of 70-second scale. They've got a shitload of aircraft. He's just bought them in from Hasegawa.
I've got
the only models from the Armour range that Amarang still import are the big guns. The big Karl Mortar and the Leopold Road gun.
Yeah, they're the only ones.
Still get those.
He's got the Tiger one as well.
I was going to say, Tiger Hobbies with Gary is another one to go to.
I've got one at the sale if you want one.
Tiger Hobbies has got the Tiger stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, into a place of 172nd scale armor, I think we've come to that decision that there is. I don't think you'll see it from the main guys anymore. I think, as I said, if you look at what's coming out 172nd scale, not Revell, Airfix, Tamiya, they've never done it anyway. Academy, I don't think they've done any 172nd scale for a while. Just trying to think. Trumpeter have got a few nice kits. Yeah. I've got a Stam Tiger up there, which I'm determined to build at some point. But I'm just getting sidetracked by all these other tanks that are coming at me at 135th.
Heller have always done a range of 72nd scale armor.
What you might see from the more mainstream manufacturers still is 72nd scale armor, but it will be done very much as like starter sets.
Yeah.
That sort of ilk, rather than, it's very difficult, I think, for anyone here, or probably most people watching, because we take the hobby fairly seriously. It's very difficult to change your mindset to the person that's gone away for the weekend and they buy their kid a 72nd scale Sherman to put together over the weekend because we live in the UK. It's going to be raining. They're going to be stuck indoors. It's very difficult for us to approach a model in that way. But I think you will still see that from mainstream manufacturers. But the diehard 72nd scale modelers, armor-wise, are going to go for the more niche manufacturers because they're going to achieve a greater finished result.
Yeah, I think this leaves the door wide open for a 176 resurgence.
Yeah. Hobby time question for the team. Got the wedge tail and the Poseidon in 172nd scale kits. Having problems with gluing them together. Tamiya TAT doesn't work. Go on then, Nigel.
You need this one. I've done videos on it, but you haven't seen them yet. This one here, this is MIG ammo, extra thin cement. It's in a Tamiya jar because the big ammo jar is easy to knock over. But it's MIG ammo, extra thin cement. That works a treat. Or I'll tell you what, I will try that.
Yeah.
I will try that, boss, because at the time I didn't try. You might have done. Yeah, it just keeps sinking and it doesn't work.
Nigel, when I was at the show, I had 3 people come up and say to me, "Oh, I watched Nigel's video. Apparently, you use tool cleaner to glue. How does that work?" And I said, "It just does. It's the same stuff. It's just
the only thing that works
consistency, but it bites. That's what you want. It's a bite, isn't it?"
Was that the other one you used, Nigel? Wasn't it?
I tried all of them.
Yeah. Did that one work?
Nope.
No. Okay.
The only one I found that worked, the video's done, but it's not out there. I'm going to wait till I finish the model first. Oh no, I've told you what I'm doing. The problem I'm having with it is you've got a front and rear half fuselage goes together. It's also in 2 halves, so the fuselage is in 4 sections. And I put it down, I leave it for a week, and it sinks. So I fill it with super glue, sand it all flush, leave it for a week, and it sinks.
Really?
God.
It's horrible on that kit. I should have
What
said
company
that.
is it? What is it? The wedge tail?
Big plane kits.
I'm glad I've shrunk down to the Academy ones.
BBK, yeah.
BBK. I'd see all them. They're not cheap either, are they? Those BBK kits.
There's one there. It's a beautiful model, but it's...
And if you would like a smaller alternative,
There
there is the Academy one.
Yeah.
That's Academies, and they've just done the wedge tail as well. I had both BBK kits, and then I realised to try and put them on the stand together at Telford was not a wise idea, so I shrunk them all down to the 1/144.
Richard WL says, Mr. Tool Cleaner is now my future glue, and probably the way it's. Like I said, I only said it to Nigel in passing, wasn't it? Because you asked me what I've been using on that Stolly, and I said I just use this. I'd fill up my Tamiya bottles with this, and honestly, I've never had a problem gluing stuff together for years.
It wasn't the fact that the extra thing wouldn't work, but it was like normally, like with a Tamiya kit or another Airfix kit, you put like a control column into the cockpit, and after 30 seconds, it's kind of glued. But what was like, it just wasn't curing. It was like, no. And it was hot weather as well. It was really strange. Use the tool cleaner, bang.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody had a question there about length and link tracks. The best way to paint them.
Yeah. What's the best way to link, and what's the best way to paint link and length tracks
Paint
on the wheels?
Paint all the road wheels separate before you put them on the chassis. Then paint all the tracks separate. Then scrape a little tiny bit of the paint away and sand the bottom of the wheels off, and then just assemble it.
Yeah. That's
the way I do it.
Was it the was it in this one? I think it was in the Tamiya instructions. I think it was in this one. I love the fact that I've never seen this before in a Tamiya kit. So if they do it all the time, tell me. They do the link and length, and they've also got a full-size diagram.
Yeah.
The instructions.
Yeah, they do that in their new toolkits.
Yeah. I thought that was really great because you could lay the track on, couldn't you, in theory?
Yeah.
And it's at full size as well. So if you I've actually checked it. If you put it alongside, it's the exact size. I thought that was fantastic.
You did that with a comment.
Yeah.
If it's done right, I think length and link looks really sharp.
Yeah. I think it was Tackham with what I can't. They actually gave you a jig to build the tracks on.
Yeah.
Meng do the same. Rifle model do the same.
Yes.
They'll give you a jig in the kit.
When the first length and link kit I ever did was a Revell 72nd scale tank, and I couldn't believe the difference between rubber tracks and the. Do you know what I mean?
It is, I will say, that's the question.
And I think you'll find, Maz, in that kit, Tamira giving you a jig so you get the sag right.
Are you sure? Because there's no sag on this
I'm not sure, but
there should be a slight kink in the front drive sprocket.
They definitely did in their Panzer.
The rest is tight as hell.
Yeah, these aren't. There's no sag in an M36 track.
There should be a slight kink in front of the drive sprocket, and that's it.
There's no picture in here. Attach roller to the 9th track link. They broke it down really well, actually. They broke it down, instructions in both.
If you hold that instruction leaflet up again, Moss, can you see the kink in front of the drive sprocket? There it is. There's a little tiny kink where it drops down the back edge of that last tooth, and everything else on that track should be tight as hell.
One thing to remember, guys, for these less experienced modelers, if you have that type of track, don't use an oil wash. Because what it does, it attacks the glue and it'll all just fall apart. Use lighter fluid. If you're going to enamel paint, use lighter fluid and paint that on, it won't attack the glue. If you use it on a wash, they'll just all fall apart. Ask me how I know.
Oh, he knows all right.
Just don't light the tank on fire.
The light just dries like that really fast.
Anyway, folks, what's that? Sorry. Yeah, tool cleaner is seriously hot. Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
I don't get this when people like, you want to melt your airbrush seals, use tool cleaner. I've been using tool cleaner for 2-3 years. Even in my cheap Chinese airbrushes and stuff. Doesn't affect them at all. I don't understand.
Well, I will say one thing. I left tool cleaner in an airbrush overnight, and they made the seals donuts. If you leave it, you can leave it up to about an hour. But when they expanded them, it was in a cheap airbrush I had. But if it's normal,
melted them basically.
Yeah, so not if it's the normal ones, what they call the PTFE one.
PTFE,
They won't. Tool cleaner won't touch them. They're really good. But on the cheaper ones, they will leave it overnight. But that tool cleaner, yeah, I've used it I left it overnight one night, not thinking of, because I always leave when I clean up my airbrush. When I finish using it, I fill up the cap with IPA before I just leave it, and that's what happens. So when I come back to it, it's still got a bit of IPA left in the bottom, just to keep it lubricated, sort of thing. That's what I've always done. But yeah, the tool cleaner stuff is very good. Yeah, it's very good. It doesn't. If you use proper PTFE ones, you're fine. I just leave it for an hour, no more than an hour. But I've used tool cleaner for years, and yeah, that's it.
Never.
Oh, okay, fair enough, James. Okay, if that's don't upset it, and don't upset it on your legs. It's like acid. What is? Oh, you're joking. No, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, it's gone past 10 o'clock, folks. I think we're pretty much done. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed us talking while you've been working on your benches. I want to get Malcolm from Models for Heroes on in a couple of weeks to talk about his initiative with Models for Heroes, and I'll try and get in contact with Dave at 3D Gizmo and have a chat with him about where he sees.
That'd be cool.
Because he was on last year, wasn't he? And he was so insightful, wasn't he? Because he was talking about his latest printer, and it was incredible the sort of stuff you could do with it. But it wasn't cheap, though, was it? It's like buying. Remember when the plasma TVs first came out? And they were like $5,000, weren't they? Like and within 3 years, you could pick them up from the middle of Lidl for about 200, weren't they? Do you know?
I've got a Panasonic 36-inch flat screen plasma.
Yeah.
I bought it in 2008. It was £899.
Yeah.
It weighs about 4 tons,
Yeah. Now that you can pick them up so cheap, can't you?
Now, I expect.
Yeah. So we've got some ideas, and anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. If you have any thoughts, if you've got a question you want us to discuss or a subject matter, please email me. Email address will be in my about section of this channel. Jim, pleasure. John Alec, pleasure. Brett, been a pleasure. John, been a pleasure. Luke, been a pleasure. Ben, been a pleasure. And Nigel, always a pleasure. We will see you next week. Take care, all. Have a good rest of your week.
Congratulations. Bye.